there, everybody. Welcome to the Keto Edge Summit, where we are dispelling the myths about the ketogenic diet and lifestyle and helping empower you to improve your health through the ketogenic lifestyle. I'm your host, Dr. David Jockers, and I've got a very special guest with me today. This is Dr. V, who really is a specialist when it comes to cancers, really of all types, but really she helps coach women with breast cancer, uterine ovarian cancers, and a number of different cancers. And you hold retreats and all different types of things, and you've written a best-selling book as well, Beat Breast Cancer Naturally, is that correct?
Heal Breast Cancer
Heal
Naturally.
Breast Cancer Naturally,
Yeah.
yes. Heal Breast Cancer Naturally. Actually, I read that book years ago. It is one of the best books I've ever read when it comes to really breaking down cancer and then strategies that you can apply in order to diagnose it using things like thermography, and then also strategies to apply, really covering all the different levels and complexity of cancer.
Well,
so I really appreciated your work and excited to have you on. And so, Dr. V, tell us about how you got involved with cancer and really your cancer journey, your cancer story.
Well, it all started really when I was 16 years old, and I heard the story of chiropractic.
Yeah.
And I knew at that moment I wanted to bring wellness to the world.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I'm in practice for about 3 years as a bioenergetic chiropractor, and my father's diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And of course, we know traditional medicine gave him no hope and gave him 6 weeks to live, and he died within 6 weeks to the day. But I knew in my heart and soul that something could have been done for him. So 1983, no internet back then, went to the library, called different cancer clinics, which were few and far between. And I realized that there was something that could have been done, but it was too late. So I took that fire in my soul and brought that to my practice, and I started seeing people reversing autoimmune diseases and cancer, and children with infections and allergies, just getting well. And it was just amazing to me to see all those things. But then fast forward 25 years I'd been in practice, and I'm getting ready for work. I'm in the shower doing a self-breast exam, and bam, felt the lump that changed my life professionally and personally. So that's what made me dive into the whole cancer, understanding cancer, because here I was, a chiropractor, and I had my children at home births, breastfed,
doing everything right.
Exactly.
I say the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
And I was eating organic before organic was in style, and here I was faced with cancer. So what an aha moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing? What's the pieces of the puzzle that I'm missing? And if I felt frustrated and confused and overwhelmed with all the knowledge I had, being professional in my career, how much more so would the average person have?
Yeah.
So that led me to put pieces of the puzzle together and realize what I had been missing, and create a step-by-step program to make it easy for people to understand what it takes to create health and move towards vibrant health.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you created the 7 Essential System. This is a system you use to overcome it, right? And tell us, and obviously you've now coached, what, thousands?
Well,
too many to count.
We've reached millions of people.
Millions, with your website and everything.
Yeah,
and then,
we've coached women in 35 countries.
35 countries,
my
wow.
team and I, so it's been pretty incredible. I never imagined I'd be doing this, because I was supposed to retire 7 years ago, right?
Exactly.
Here I am.
Yeah, well, when you find your purpose, there's no real retirement. And you have a credible message that's just inspiring, empowering so many people. Absolutely. So we need to keep you going strong, right?
I'm going strong.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so tell us about the 7 Essential System that you teach, obviously, your coaching clients and people all around the world with.
It's a very simple step-by-step process.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. Essential number 1 is let food be your medicine. And I think, your audience is very educated when it comes to food.
Absolutely.
Number 2 is reducing your toxic exposure. We live in a toxic world. We can't live in a bubble, but what can we do to reduce our exposure on macro levels, environmental levels, in our home, on our skin, what's going on in our body? Number 3 has to do with balancing our energy. We're electrical beings, right? We know that as chiropractors.
So true.
And so what do we do to balance our energy? Well, chiropractic, acupuncture, exercise, balancing your hormones, making sure you're getting proper sleep. Number 4 that was the big one for me that I really had to dive into, which is difficult for most people because it's intangible. That's healing your emotional wounds.
Yeah.
Because we can be, when we're on a healing journey, we can be real focused on the physical things we need to do.
Yeah.
But taking the time to self-nurture, self-heal, forgive ourselves, forgive others, that's a little bit more challenging
You're right.
sometimes.
Absolutely.
Number 5 is biological dentistry. You know, what goes in your mouth affects your whole body.
Yeah.
Number 6 is using specific therapeutic plants and herbs to help reverse dis-ease in the body and support the immune system.
Yep.
And lastly, number 7 is early detection. You know, keeping a pulse on your health and really looking at tools like thermography and specific blood work that can detect cancer when it's only the size of a pinhead instead of the size of a golf ball when it's picked up traditionally. So
yeah, absolutely. And so that's really the 7 essential system there. And I know thermography is one of those things where, you know, we know, for example, that cancer cells, they have a higher metabolic rate, right? And thermography is looking at heat. And so something that has a higher metabolic rate is going to produce more heat, right? Which is going to show up on thermography. And exactly. And so tell us more about really how thermography works and how it can pick things up.
So thermography cannot diagnose cancer, but what it can do is look at physiological changes in the body.
Yeah.
So we know that inflammation is the foundation for all disease.
Right.
So thermography reads the infrared heat coming off your body. And so if there's more heat in a specific area and there's more patterns, we know, for example, that cancer cells like to create their own blood flow, right?
Yeah.
Angiogenesis.
Angiogenesis, yep.
And so that's going to show up as a heat pattern specifically in the breast.
Yeah.
And you can use thermography to look at all areas of the body, not just the breast tissue.
Right.
But it's a great tool, and nothing is 100% accurate.
Of course.
But it's, you know, proven to be 97% accurate, and it's been a great tool that I've used.
and non-invasive, no radiation. You have nothing to lose,
No
right?
pain,
Yeah,
no
exactly.
pain.
That's
Because
right.
interestingly,
no pain, no compression.
With mammography,
Yeah.
there was a 25-year study done on over 90,000 women in Canada. And the results came out a few years ago. Hands down, mammography did not decrease breast cancer mortality rate, not even by 1%. And they found that it was just as effective in finding a tumor as a self-breast exam. So I'm not telling women not to get a mammogram, but look at your choices. You know, don't necessarily rely just on one thing, but look at different tools that you can use to really keep a pulse on your health.
Yeah, I mean, that's such an important principle. And so diving into the food, you know, this is the Keto Edge Summit, right?
Yes.
And so I know you're a fan of ketosis and applying a ketogenic diet. And so how do you try to implement that into people's lifestyles?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Ketogenic diet was unknown to me up until a few years ago when I heard Dr. Thomas Siegfried talk about the metabolic aspect of cancer.
Metabolic
and it was
cancer,
it just made so much sense.
Yeah.
Cancer is a metabolic disease, not a genetic one.
Exactly.
And whenever I teach something, I have to experience it first. So I dove really deep into the ketogenic diet. I mean, I did it very strictly for 6 months. I measured my ketones, measured my carbs, my proteins, you know, my calories, the glucose index. I did it all.
Yeah.
And it really taught me a lot about food patterns that I had. Obviously incorporated calorie restriction, intermittent fasting through all that, and it just totally transformed my health.
Yeah.
And I thought I was pretty healthy.
Yeah.
And so I started teaching the women that we coach about these very aspects. And interestingly, one person stands out in that she's been a type 1 diabetic since she was a young girl, and she had breast cancer. So double whammy, right? But when she started applying the principles that we were teaching, I mean, blood sugar was getting better, less insulin needed, and cancer markers going down. So it's been
powerful,
an amazing therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you're also a fan of juicing, right? Juicing vegetables and things like that. So how do you teach people how to incorporate getting the components of juicing and also explain why somebody would want to do juicing, especially if they have cancer, and still maintain ketosis or maintain a ketogenic diet?
Well, when you think about juicing, if you go to a typical juice bar, what do they put in there? Apples,
fruit,
beets, lots of carrots, you know.
Fruit and a little bit of
fruit.
vegetables.
Right. So we want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
We want to do a lot of greens.
Yeah.
And lemons and limes.
Right.
And you want to measure your blood sugar to see
exactly.
how that's
you
supporting
respond.
your body and how you're responding. You may need to drink a little bit less, or you may need to dilute it and drink it over a slower period of time.
Right.
But juicing is so awesome because it puts that nutrition into your bloodstream so much faster.
Yep.
There's less fiber to break down, and it gives you that powerhouse nutrition that you need when you're trying to get well.
Yeah, and you don't have to use this digestive energy, which frees up energy for your immune system.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I always tell my patients, I'm like, you really can get just about every nutrient from all the fruit that's out there in lemons and limes, right? Lemons and limes are so rich in vitamin C, bioflavonoids, potassium, right? They're awesome.
The
limonene, especially if you're doing the whole lemon in there, absolutely, and they're not going to affect your blood sugar, right? And so, in fact, actually, they have a really good response for keeping your blood sugar stable because of the sour citric acid nature of it. Yeah, absolutely. And so, what kind of vegetables do you like to put in?
Well, I'm a big fan of cruciferous vegetables, especially because of breast cancer, because they help to detoxify the liver.
Yes, indole 3-carbinol,
phase 2 detoxification pathway.
Yeah.
And so broccoli sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, lots of leafy greens.
Kale would be in there,
and spinach,
absolutely.
and bok choy.
Yep.
Just a lot of the cruciferous.
Now for like juice production, because like you can juice all the dark greens and like it just
that much.
you just get the green, right?
Right.
So of course lemons and limes will help.
Yes.
Right. What else is like a good base?
Ginger.
Yeah.
Turmeric.
Yeah.
The lemons.
Well, you get the herbs, right? How about celery?
Celery, yes.
Cucumbers,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you get the water, right? You get the water out of that.
Fluids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zucchini, I've used zucchini.
Yeah, zucchini. Yeah. Bok choy, you ever try that?
Yes.
And bok choy is a good water producer as well.
It is.
So
romaine lettuce.
Romaine, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, good stuff. And all that stuff is very, very low in carbohydrates. So for most people, they're going to respond really well. But she's right. It's like, don't just assume if you juice that your blood sugar is going to stay really stable. Your ketones are going to be good. Because some individuals, they're so metabolically damaged and have a lot of issues with insulin resistance, and they need to kind of space it out or drink less as they're going. Yeah. So tell us about some of your favorite ketogenic foods. You're like, in a sense, how would you meal plan if you're trying to be on a ketogenic diet?
Well, when I did it really strictly for 6 months, my carbs were only 20 carbs a day.
Yeah.
I was doing, I think it was like 115 grams of fat and maybe 30 or 40 grams of protein.
Yep.
That's difficult to maintain. However, if you are in a healing crisis and you are diagnosed with cancer, I certainly encourage you to do that because that's what it takes.
Yep.
So now I'm a little bit more lenient. But, a typical, I don't have breakfast, so I'll have like a
so
tea,
intermittent fasting.
Right. So I'll do a matcha tea with MCT oil, maybe a little bit of ghee.
Yep. Why do you like matcha tea?
Because matcha has 100 times more of the EGCG than regular green tea.
Yep.
So 1 cup of matcha is equivalent to 10 cups of green tea.
Right. So it's definitely the best bang for your buck right there. Right. And we know ECGC, a really powerful nutrient, stimulates that AMPK pathway, right, which helps with anti-aging.
Right.
So you get that, and you make like a little. Do you put fat in there at all?
Yeah.
Right? MCT, yeah. So MCT, so you're stimulating the ketones right there, and a little bit of ghee. Yeah. Exactly. So
cinnamon,
perfect. Cinnamon,
in there.
Love it.
So I do a couple of cups of that. And then, so typical lunch, breakfast would be maybe, an egg with some spinach.
Yep.
Some extra olive oil, an avocado, half an avocado.
Get the good fat in there.
So
the avocado's got the fiber.
Right.
Right? Because you think on a ketogenic diet, people are like, well, where am I going to get my fiber?
Yeah.
Right? But you eat enough vegetables and avocados, you got plenty of fiber there,
Yeah, or a salad. Sometimes I'll just do a salad with some sprouted nuts and all kinds of veggies and so avocado always every day just about. And then dinner would be basically just some vegetables of some sort, either raw or steamed. And then small amount of protein. And that's one thing that I really learned with the ketogenic diet. I used to eat a fillet, a fillet of salmon, 6 ounces. But now I realized that I had to cut it down to 3 ounces.
Right. Because 6 ounces of salmon's like 50 grams of protein right there, right? Like we don't really realize how dense that is in protein. Yeah. And so possibly if you're doing like intense resistance training on that day, you might be able to handle it. But in general, most of us are going to struggle, and we're going to actually, that gluconeogenic process, we're just going to take some of that protein and turn it into sugar.
Yeah, and that's something that people didn't
especially as you age, right? Especially as you get older. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know, if you have too much protein in your diet, it's going to increase your blood glucose.
Right.
So keeping your protein low to moderate is very, very important. And
So
of course,
important.
it's going to vary depending on your, your weight and your exercise and male, female, all that.
Age, right? All those things. Absolutely.
So you have to, really work with somebody to try and figure things out for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And so would you agree with the term, because we have always heard an apple a day, right? Keeps the doctor away. Okay, well on the ketogenic diet we say an avocado a day,
there you go.
Keeps the doctor away, or really in particular, the oncologist away in this case. Yes. So getting that high quality, good fat, nutrient dense source like an avocado.
Yeah.
Yep. How do you like to use avocado? Do you make guacamole? Do you put it in shakes?
Everything.
Me too.
Everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. And make desserts.
For me, it's like 3 avocados a day, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you can do all kinds of fun things, and that's another thing I discovered with the ketogenic diet is the good fats you can really make some fun desserts.
Yeah, absolutely.
With coconut oil and raw cacao, a bit of stevia.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Butter, almond butter. Melt all that together, stick it in the freezer, and you got these delicious chocolates.
Exactly.
Fatty chocolates that are so
That's
satisfying
That's right.
and so good.
Yeah, and dark chocolate actually is very rich in ECGC as well, which we talked about with the matcha green tea, right? So you get a lot of really great components there. So you combine that in, you just got to make sure it doesn't have sugar. And then your favorite sweetener, stevia. What do you like any other sweeteners?
I used, if it's organic, xylitol, I may use just a tiny little bit amount.
A little bit of sugar alcohol. How about monk fruit? You ever used that before?
Yes, I've used that.
Harder to get. Okay, but no effect on blood sugar with that one. Okay, and so some people, when they don't like stevia or they're having a bad reaction to it, I tell them, well, let's go with the monk fruit.
Right.
Okay, and then what I found with the sugar alcohols is that most people do well with them. Some people, especially people that have a history of irritable bowel, like I do, we get a lot of gas and bloating. Right. So if you're noticing that, if you're using a sugar alcohol or a sweetener and you're noticing gas and bloating, come off of that, right? Because for sure.
Don't do that.
Definitely. But I love the desserts that you can make. Give us like 2 of your favorites, right? 2 or 3 of your favorites for desserts.
Well, I would have to say, the chocolate bonbons are definitely one of them, one of those that I make. And then the avocado chocolate pudding is really good.
I eat that almost every day.
Yeah.
That's like my lunch because, I'm a huge fan of doing more liquid nutrition when I'm in my more stressful periods of time. And you let the blender do the work, right? You get the avocado in there, right? Good high quality chocolate. Protein powder, but not too much, like we talked about, and using like a coconut milk kind of base. And it just tastes amazing, doesn't it? Yeah.
And Kia, I love Kia pudding. So very thick coconut milk. Culinary, coconut milk, Kia seeds. And you can, flavor it with vanilla, stevia.
Is that how it's pronounced? Kia seeds? I always pronounce it chia seeds.
Kia.
We could say whatever.
Tomato.
That's right. Exactly. It's totally fine. But So you throw in that chia seed in there, right? Which is a great prebiotic fiber. Okay. And really, really good, supportive of the body. High in omega-3, absolutely. So good for the body. Yep. Definitely.
Just let it sit in the fridge for about an hour, and you got yourself a nice pudding. So you can do coconut, vanilla, chocolate, whatever flavor you like. So it's great.
That's
good. It's great for children, the vanilla flavor.
Absolutely.
Or just the plain. I know, I've got 3 little grandchildren now, and they like to take a few tablespoons of that.
Absolutely. My boys, they love avocado. Their favorite vegetable is pickles, organic pickles, right? So we get the fermented cucumber. Literally, if we set up their plate and we've got like the stuff they like, which is like grass-fed cheese and like paleo crackers, if there's pickle on there, they eat the pickle first. right? They also actually really like olive, right? They got olive on there, all kinds of good stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it interesting, right? So you start to teach kids, and they start to form a better palate overall in general.
Yes.
Now, I know you talked about how you do intermittent fasting, and so in general, I'll hear a lot from women, a lot of different things. Some women are all about it. Some women say, oh, I really, really struggle. I have all kinds of issues when I'm fasting. What has been your experience, and how do you help coach people with that?
Well, I started fasting really 35 years ago, I guess, when I, when I started, when I went to chiropractic.
Because it's been one of the oldest healing strategies is fasting, and cleansing. Paul Bragg, absolutely,
And so I would fast, 1 day a week for sure, and then once a month I would do a 3 or 4 day fast, just a water fast.
Which is really Paul Bragg. It's kind of what he recommended. By the way, if you don't know Paul Bragg, you've probably heard of Bragg's apple cider vinegar.
Right.
That's Paul Bragg.
Yeah.
Right.
Way back when.
Yeah, exactly.
And so fast forward to now, it's becoming more popular. So intermittent fasting. So typically, what I'll do is like on a Monday. So I'll my last meal would be maybe on Sunday at noon, and then I'll fast for through Tuesday or Wednesday. If I'm having a hard time, or if my schedule's a little bit busier, then I may do some bone broth, dilute bone broth in the evening. But it's typically just tea or water with just very simple. And I believe it's important too that if you're doing that, you should also be cleansing at the same time. So coffee enemas or saunas, to move the toxins out of the body.
Right. Yeah.
And it's amazing. We become so dependent on food for our energy, but when we remove that food, we think better because we're creating more ketones. We have more energy. Our bodies just respond because fasting is part of our history as human beings, right?
Exactly.
We didn't always have a refrigerator full of food. And so human beings went without food for a period of time.
If we weren't good at fasting, we wouldn't exist, right? Mankind wouldn't exist. In fact, one of the reasons why we are existing and thriving is because of how good our bodies are at going through these periods of famine and how helpful that is. And so, I know in general, like when I'm working with clients, like with men, I typically get them going and fasting right away. A lot of women are more hesitant with it, or maybe they've looked up on Google and they've heard bad things about women fasting, things like that. Have you noticed anything like that, or with your clients, or how do you help women? Because you mostly work with women with this sort of a strategy.
I find premenopausal women.
Yes.
It's a little bit harder if they're on their cycle. So obviously, try to fast away from that. But postmenopausal women
don't have as much of an issue.
No, it's not an issue, really.
Absolutely. I've also found that if the woman is young, they're doing CrossFit, right, or some sort of high intensity exercise. If you're fasting, you shouldn't be exercising at a high intensity. So I see a lot of these kind of mistakes. When you're fasting, you're resting. You don't want to be overexpending yourself. You want to move, but just not doing high intensity resistance training. That can be a major problem with it. And of course, if you're pregnant, right, you wouldn't want to. That would be a time when you really don't want to fast, right? Because you need all about nourishing at that point, for sure.
And I just want to mention too, one of the great side effects of fasting is something called autophagy, which is basically recycling, right? Your body is breaking down the old cells and it literally uses the good parts and gets rid of the bad parts. So that's so important, especially as people are on a healing journey, because you want to starve the cancer cells, because what do they rely on? Sugar, right?
Absolutely.
They don't live on ketones. So you starve the cancer and you're, resting your body and healing the body.
Definitely. And let's say you're coaching a client and they're doing conventional therapy, right? They're going in for chemo or radiation, right? Having them fast would be the best thing you could do to potentiate that, right? Get that into the cells. And do you advise for women to do that?
Well, we tell them about the studies,
yes.
right? And so studies have shown that
right.
women who fast 48 hours or more before chemotherapy have a higher volume of shrinkage and a better white blood cell count response as a result of it. So it's a simple strategy, but it makes so much sense.
Right. And unfortunately, their oncologist is saying, because oftentimes when people go through chemotherapy, they develop cachexia, right? They're losing weight, it's so catabolic on the system. So the oncologist says, you just need to eat a lot of calories.
Right.
And oftentimes in the hospital, they're giving them candy, sugar, or like Ensure, some sort of like a calorie replacement type thing.
Full
the
of
worst.
sugar.
Yeah, the worst thing we could possibly be doing. Instead, we should be restricting food, lots of hydration, cleansing strategies, right? Getting the electrolytes in, right? This is huge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a crime to me that you go to a chemotherapy suite and what do you see? Sugar and sodas, and they're fueling the fire that they're trying to put out, and. It just blows my mind. I just don't understand that.
I mean, it is a crime, right? And that's why we're doing things like the Keto Edge Summit, get this information out. I know both of you and I have been in the Truth About Cancer, right?
Yes.
This amazing docuseries and movement. And we're actually doing this interview at the live symposium right here. You just got finished speaking, I finished speaking. And, just getting this message out to people, because ultimately this is how we save lives. If you're listening, definitely share this information, because what Dr. V is saying is life-saving information. It's helped so many other people out there, and it can help your friends and your family members and people that you know. So definitely, share this information, pass it along, and help your friends and your family members, and they will thank you, 100-fold once they start to learn this, and that button goes off. Like, you see this all the time. It's like people realize it, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And it's just it clicks. Yes.
It makes sense.
Yep.
It takes the confusion. Once you understand what cancer is and what cancer is not, then it's a simple equation. It really is. It takes the mystery out of cancer. And
exactly. And when you understand the why, right, then the how doesn't become as intimidating.
Correct.
You have more motivation behind the how, because you're like, oh, well, of course I've got to starve out the cancer. I got to restrict its fuel. I need to provide nutrients that are going to help, block angiogenesis and all these different factors. And then it's exciting as you're drinking your matcha, your matcha green tea in the morning with your MCT oil and things like that. You understand what's happening.
Good because
that's right.
You're doing something good for your body.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I tell women all the time, sometimes when they start off with the coaching, they may feel a little nervous, or what am I going to do? Do I have to give up my, ice cream and my, different foods that I like? But you have a choice.
Yeah.
You either feed your body or feed the cancer.
Yep.
It's that simple. I mean,
exactly.
We all have a fork that we put to our mouth, and we just have to ask ourselves, is this going to help me or is it going to hinder me?
Yeah, exactly.
And
you can allow, food can either be, in a sense, your slowest form of poison, right? Or your medicine, right? Depending on how you're using it.
Yeah.
And what I always tell them, after I tell them that, I say, but if you really love ice cream, I got a great coconut milk ice cream recipe that you can make. That's right, exactly, right? So as long as you're open-minded, okay, which is key, okay, it doesn't taste exactly like what you're used to, but it definitely tastes good. It's ketogenic, works with this system, so it works great as far as that goes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, totally. So this is definitely what we got to do, obviously following these kinds of strategies. And so, Dr. V, I mean, it's been such a privilege to have you on. And, tell us more about where we can find you, what kind of content. I know you have programs out there, right, to help walk women through these kinds of issues. I know you do retreats, right? Tell our audience about that.
Well, the first place to start is to go to breastcancerconqueror.com, and there you'll see all kinds of information. I've been blogging for 5 years, and I'm very evidence-based, so everything I'm going to write is going to be backed up by science, so you can trust the resources.
By the way, I'm a subscriber. I always check out what she's putting out.
Okay, thanks. I read yours too.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And then you can just kind of browse through the website. You can go to, there's a coaching area where you can check out to see if you feel like you need support. Then we have a couple of coaches that can guide you through the process, so you don't have to figure things out on your own. The Healing Diva retreats, we do them annually. We might start doing them twice a year now, maybe East and West, because there's such a need for that. So
definitely. And I know we were talking about that yesterday, just how important that is. And just tell our audience a little bit more, because it's like, okay, you can listen to this summit and we'll start connecting the why and the how. But for many people, you know, they're not as internally driven where they just head down, do it on their own. Having that support of a whole community, being around people, hugging people, right? And kind of going through the process like that, it's so critical. And so you're seeing that with your retreats.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was an 11-year study done on women with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And they found that women who took the time to meditate and slow down and de-stress their life, and number 2 was the community support.
Yeah.
It decreased breast cancer mortality rates by 79%. Just having that community support and learning to manage their stress.
Exactly.
So that's why we do what we do. You know, we'd like to connect people and get women together because you know, you may feel like the Lone Ranger. You don't know, your family may not understand why you're doing what you're doing. Your friends, you know, don't understand. Your doctor's against you. But when you can connect with like-minded people who are on the same journey, it's just like, wow, you found home. You found a place.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And that's why those retreats are so important. I know, like with my clinic, I tell my staff all the time at my clinic that just people coming in here, right? We've got worship music playing. We pray over all of our patients. They're getting hugs. They never leave without at least one hug from my staff. And I'm like, you know, that alone, right? And we can talk in a second about chiropractic and how powerful that is. But that alone, right, just creates this healing environment, and this environment that starts to reduce the stress response and open up that parasympathetic nervous system and get the person healing. And you know, I'm constantly telling my staff that there's nothing more important you can do when you're in here than love people, love on people.
Exactly. Yeah. Because where else? What other doctor's office can you go to?
Exactly.
You get a hug.
Right? Instead, you're like, they're opening the door.
Right.
You're late. Boom. Or whatever it is. Yeah. And so I know you're a chiropractor. I'm a chiropractor, right? And so tell our audience a little bit about just the importance of chiropractic when it comes to helping the immune system and helping people overcome cancer.
Well, people who are under chiropractic care have a 300% greater immune competence than those who don't.
Right.
I mean, that's basic. But, you know, your nerve system is divided into the accelerator and the brake. And if your body's going to heal, you don't want your foot on the accelerator, right?
Yeah.
You want it to be balanced. And so chiropractic helps to make sure that that nerve system is balanced and that every cell in your body is receiving that electrical energy from the brain so that it all works together in harmony. Yeah,
it's awesome. I mean, we're electrical beings, right? Yes. And that really, that understanding takes us into one of the reasons why fasting can actually open up. You actually notice you have more energy, you know, when you're fasting. And like I was telling my audience today, I spoke at 2:30 p.m. And I told them, you know, one of my top hacks for giving an incredible performance and incredible talk is I just don't eat. I drink a ton of water, I take electrolytes, and I feel so mentally free and so excited and I have so much more energy and so much more passion. Yeah, I haven't eaten yet today. All I've done is drank a lot of water with electrolytes, and it's like I just feel amazing, right? I feel my best. When I eat, I feel a little bit more tired, which is natural and normal because I need to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system so I can digest it well, right? So it's just powerful, and that goes hand in hand with what she was talking about with the nervous system and chiropractic because we're electrical beings, right? And we've got to take care of our energy. Yes. Okay, and what are some other ways that you teach people to help kind of manage their energy, maybe mindset types of techniques? Oh, so important. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we spend a lot of time on creating a healing mindset. Yeah. Because if you, between your ears, have that inner struggle and you don't really believe that your body has the ability to heal and you stay in fear instead of moving towards love and peace and joy and happiness. You know, I love the book that Dr. Carl Simonton wrote back in the 80s. I forget the exact name, but you know, his message was cancer is a message of love. Yeah.
And it's a message to tell you that you have to stop doing the things that bring you pain and move towards things that bring you more joy.
That is good. And so many people are stuck in, like, they think they have to do these things, or they're stuck in this place that's actually causing pain and causing them to be in a state of chronic fear or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know that was a case with you, it was a case with me. I had a massive fear of failure, and it ended up in a sense, manifesting itself as skin cancer on my nose, right? And as I started to address my metabolic system by going on a ketogenic diet, by fasting, right? What happened? It went away on its own, right? My body was able to heal itself. And that's the power. Our bodies can heal themselves.
Absolutely.
And so, Dr. V, it's been a real privilege and an honor to have you on the Keto Edge Summit.
Thank you.
And one last question I'm asking everybody is this, if you were on a deserted island, right? You've probably heard that sort of thing before, and you could bring 5 foods with you to live on for a year, okay? What would be your top 5 foods?
Oh boy. Well, avocados for sure.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Definitely coconut oil.
Yeah, exactly.
And definitely cruciferous vegetables.
Yep.
And leafy greens. And I would like to have some nuts just to chew on.
Hey, there you go. Exactly. Get that crunch.
That's right.
Absolutely. I love it. So those are great 5 foods to be consuming on a regular basis as you really go on your ketogenic journey. And so if you've enjoyed this interview with Dr. V and some of our other interviews, and you want to go deeper and you want to get more quality information and more support on your ketogenic journey, then I want to encourage you to consider purchasing the Keto Edge Summit for yourself. You get all the interviews, the transcripts, really all this content for a lifetime. And if you did that, we'd really be honored and privileged, to, in a sense, just be a part of influencing your life. And so we will see you on a future interview with the Keto Edge Summit.